Hi and welcome to StockInvest.us podcast for week 15. Sadly, I was right last week. It became a red week for Nasdaq, ending just about 13,700. Microsoft, Apple, I was just about $1 about target for both of them down. And what about the trading tips? Well, just like I told you last week, I thought it would be a hard week and I wanted to put my money in stocks that didn't fall that much if markets became red. How did they do? Well, we will look at that a little bit later. I can already reveal that Borr Drilling did 42% profit, so it was another good trade. And I think it's time to consider Borr Drilling again. But as I said, we will get back to the tips a little bit later in this podcast. We will do the usual thing. We will look at the markets. What can we expect for the week ahead of us? And then go through Apple, Microsoft, Bitcoin, Dogecoin and Tesla. And at the very end, the trading tips. Always and as usual, we will have to start with the disclaimer, and I will be right back.
Welcome to StockInvest.us podcast. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.us. By using the information provided, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.
I was right about the markets last week. It became a red week, and I said I thought markets could end somewhere around 13,700, 13,800 for Nasdaq. And Nasdaq actually ending at 13,711, down 3.86% or 550 points. The problem with that is, of course, that Nasdaq is back below 14,000. And if you recall last week's podcast, I told you, well, the important thing now is that it bounces up and has a bottom higher than the previous bottom. We will get back to all of these things, because now we are in a situation where two things can happen. Either market bounce up or we are heading for a very hard fall. What will it be? I will do my very best to try to answer at least what can we expect for the week ahead of us and give a little hint about what I think for the longer term period. Dow Jones did better than Nasdaq, far better actually, only down 0.28%, but keeping below 35,723 points. Markets were plagued last week, of course, by the Fed decision, and I have been telling you this as long as I can remember. Interest rates have to go up and markets do not like it. And last week Fed said they have to get hawkish, they have to be hard on the interest rates because the inflation is simply spiraling out of control. They don't say out of control, of course, but anyone that really wants the truth knows that the inflation is at an insane growing pace and it will not slow down anytime soon. We heard the Feds, we heard the US administration saying that it's just transitory, it will disappear. That was the words more than a year ago. Things will be just fine. Well, it will not be fine. The end of this will be very, very hard in my opinion. I'll get totally back to that a little later. But just giving you that overall picture. And that was the thing that was taking the markets last week. Of course, there is the Ukraine conflict, but that was not as much of a deal last week. We know that the Russians have pulled a little bit back, and actually I think that we will see they be aggressive again this week. So this week can be that kind of week where these kind of news will affect the market. But last week was for sure the Fed decision about increasing of interest rates. And if you're a new listener, just very quickly, usually I do like this. I give you a little fundamental background, trying to see what are the fundamental things that can affect the market this week. And then I go to the technical chart. Sometimes it feels like a repetition, but these are numbers and things that you should keep an eye on. And sadly I can hear that they are drilling today, but hopefully it will not be as bad as it sometimes is. The project above me is getting to an end. Anyway, get back to the fundamental data. What is it that we can expect this week? Well, there will be more inflation numbers coming, and of course job numbers. As I told you last week, I don't think the job numbers will be very particular. Right now they will be more or less on schedule, but keep an eye on the end of April, beginning of May. Then I think that you will see something which market doesn't consider right now, but I'm pretty sure that we will start to see increase in unemployment rate, and that it will start to escalate really fast after the summer. The reason for this is inflation. The other reason is, of course, now the interest rates go up. The third reason is all the sanctions against Russia, they will backfire much harder than they already have. You will start to see it more in the news. Germany is banning coal from Russia. This increases the energy costs. A lot of other countries done that, like I'm in Vilnius, Lithuania right now. Lithuania decided, well, we will get off the Russian gas. They cut the Russian gas, now only buying LPG from Norway. Well, Norway, they are quite expensive. The gas is quite expensive. These things has to be paid. You cannot simply just print money. All these things will come to an effect, which means that the businesses will start to lose their profit. We already know, for instance, in the United States, that the very tight market labor pushes wages very, very high. That means two things. Either the price has to go up, or the company has to reduce the profit. And we know that companies do not want to reduce the profits, which means that they will just increase the prices, and you have a spiral. As an investor, you have to take these things into consideration, because it will affect everything that happens in the following months and in the fall. And for 2 years and more than 100 podcasts, I've been telling you about all the things that will happen, and they actually have happened. We had oil above 100, we have gold where it is now, we have the war in Ukraine conflict. And this is just me telling you that the things that we see now will have an effect on the fall, and only a certain amount of stocks will do good. I advised you when oil was 20, buy oil shares for whatever you can, and what an amazing profit these stocks had, because it was obvious. Now we are in a situation where commodities are doing very good, so of course commodity related stocks will do good. We know that the weapon industry will do very good for a long time, but which are the stocks that can handle the inflation forward? Will it be the tech sector? Will it be hard industrial sector? Where will things flow? These are the things that we have to start plan for the trading, upcoming trading. Because one thing is for sure, you don't want to sit in a stock that is hitting a downward trend. So what are the stocks that can bear with inflation and do somewhat good in a falling market? And last week in the trading tips, I told you I thought it would be a hard week. I thought it would be hard to make profit on the trades. Well, Borr Drilling did very good. It was cut, but the two tips last week, they did exactly what I thought. They were not able to move up because the market were going down, but they held water. They treaded water, and that is the thing that you want. You don't want to sit in stocks with too high risk, because when things go south, they really fall hard. A little bit long explanation there. The things to look out for, well, I already told you about Fed, about the interest rates, and of course this shows back to the 10-year treasury yield, another number that we've been speaking too much about, but now it is 2.71, up more than 12% last week. This is the signal for the future interest rates. In general terms, you like the long interest rates to be higher than the short-term interest rates. These things you can read more about in general. As I told you, I'm not sure how many podcasts ago, but there is money to be made in bonds. You can, when we know that interest rates will go up, there will be more money to be made in bonds. We will see money flow out from stock markets and into more secure items, all discussed in previous podcasts. But that number, as I said, the 10-year treasury yield up 12% last week. So market is now paying attention to the inflation for sure. The other thing which I mentioned is gold. Gold relates to somewhat what do we think about the market, what do we think about the situation across the world, and I told you I believe gold will go all the way to 2,500. I personally invested into gold, and last week gold was up just about 1% and is currently trading around 150ish. I think actually I saw just a few minutes ago it was almost up at 160, so it's on the move right now. There is many reasons for this. The third thing is oil. We like to keep an eye on oil, and the reason for this is oil is in absolutely everything. Right now you're listening to me either from your iPhone or from your computer, whatever. Most of the items you're doing is made from oil. And despite you read everything that now we will go into the new Green Deal, the world will be only green, oil will be discounted, it will be shut down. We had the Biden administration in the United States going for election, shutting down the oil industry. Now they are pumping whatever oil they can. Everything, almost everything is made or related to oil somehow, and especially energy prices. And just to give you the idea that what is happening, well, when oil is this high, the cost of energy is high, which means that the transport of goods, we buy a lot of goods from Asia, they are flown from Asia to America, to Europe, to Lithuania where I sit, and the cost of the transportation is increasing drastically. There are some contracts which made air fuel cheap for some months, but now these contracts are coming up for renewal, and we will see a huge increase in anything from travel tickets to goods, transports of goods. It's the same thing for lorries and trucks. The transport cost inside the United States will go up. Everything is pushing this inflation higher. So what have, for instance, United States done? Well, they are trying to combat it with pushing out the emergency oil. We know that Trump, when oil was down under 20, he bought for whatever he had in the pockets, and they are now using this oil, trying to combat the oil price, and it has worked to some degrees, because last week oil fell by 4%, but it's 96, it's very high, and as I told you in all the podcast, I think oil will just continue upwards, and I think that because all this uncertainty and now using the emergency oil, we are heading in for a very, very bad fall, and next winter, unless something very special happens, this can end with Russian, etc. I told you about Germany and the Russian gas. It's the same thing. These are news you should put on your mind. Keep an eye on the oil price, keep an eye on especially Germany and gas delivery from Russia, because if Putin shuts down gas delivery to Germany, or they do more like they did with coal, they just ban coal. If they suddenly decide we will ban some or half of the gas delivery, it will be Germany that starts the depression spiral for sure, because they will have to do rationing of gas. It will hit the markets very, very hard. It will hit some of the big industries in Germany very hard. Germany is the industry country, and this will just spiral. It will be like a butterfly effect. It will just go across. So I would for sure keep an eye on Germany, what is happening especially in Germany, and in general keep an eye on the oil. During the week there will be some news you should keep an eye on, but from a fundamental perspective we see that the negative indicators are there, and I think, as I said also last podcast, I think they will just keep coming at higher pace, these negative things. 10-year treasury yield is up. Oil is not falling as fast as the world wants. It's still high, and I think it will go higher. So from a fundamental perspective, there is no really good reasons why markets should be green this week. In addition, We know that Russia has been regrouping in Germany. There is election in France. There are a few things that can push the market very fast down this week. I don't see any things that really can push the market up, because now we have used that redraw from Russia. That thing has already been in the market. The market doesn't expect actually Russia to send a green card during the week saying that we give up, we go back, we want the world back to normal. Everything is indicating that they want the opposite. They want to push harder to achieve their goals, not to be seen as loser, which means that the rest of the Europe has to follow up with more sanction, burying the economy even worse. Let's quickly jump, because I'm already way too late for this part of the section. But I hope you get some sense, that you start to understand that you have to look at a much bigger picture, even though you trade just a single stock or two. Try to understand where the markets are moving. If you look at StockInvest.us, we analyze more than 38,000 tickers, and we give buy and sell, and based on this we can sell something about the signals. And right now, for 2 weeks in a row, Nasdaq been falling. Last week there was 29% buy signals, now it's 25. Go to, worldwide was 25. If you go to Nasdaq fell from 25 to 12, very huge fall last week. And New York Stock Exchange is down at 16. I try to explain what does, for instance, a number like there is only 12% buy signals mean. It means one of two things: either we are heading for a very good buying opportunity, or we are heading for a drastic fall in the markets, because you are at a point where it will be very volatile. So from these numbers I can already tell you that I expect this week, like last week, to be volatile, maybe even more volatile this week. The things that we should look out for is if the market is able to bottom up, that is very low buy signals, because when the buy signals are very low, we know that usually it will be a turning point. It's like relative strength index and all these momentum indicators. When they are too low, we know they flip upwards. They are for sure not any overbought market as it saw. That was 2 weeks ago. I told you all the stocks were too high up in the trends, could and should indicate that market should fall. London 26% buy signals, Tokyo 23% buy signals, and China has been falling for 6 weeks in a row and is down at 15. So what we see from this, before quickly going to the chart, is a situation where the markets, the amount of signals are falling. It is slowly getting more negative into the market, and from this we can only draw the conclusion, since Nasdaq is as low, either we get into some sort of panic mode where we have these huge falls, 3% in a single day, or we're getting close to a place where things will turn around. The best thing, trying to figure out what will be the week, because drawing up the conclusion from the fundamental side, we can say that there is nothing really positive. But let's look at the chart and see if we can find what the chart says. And you can do this by yourself, looking at StockInvest.us, type in the ticker XIG. And if we look at the chart, everything happened like it was supposed to happen last week. I told you 13,700 we need, that was the guess for last week's trade, and we need just to turn above 12,700 to start have a more positive view. In my opinion, we are at some support levels now, but it looks to me like Nasdaq should at least go down to the 13,500 field before moving up. Relative strength index is moving down. Nasdaq is in a general falling trend. It fell from the top of the trend, which it should. And the thing that we want is for it to turn in the middle of the trend. Is it likely? Well, the support is not that great, which means that if we get some negative news pushing the markets, most likely Nasdaq will just fall. harder. So what is the guess? Well, the fundamental news is somewhat negative, I would say, and the chart indicates actually the same thing. There is nothing saying that the Nasdaq will turn where it is right now. It should fall further. It is a huge chance, in my opinion, that we can see Nasdaq as low as 12,800 during the week to push up and find some resistance around 13,500. I don't manage to see the upside if markets turn up, and we really hope that will happen. It will face resistance where it is, later at 14,000 all the way up to 14,500, so there is no reason why things should move very fast. That has to be some very, very special news taking the market by surprise. So this is what will happen in my opinion. There is already a sell signals from the short-term moving average. I think that during today or tomorrow there will be a sell signal also from the long-term moving average, and I think that we will continue down for sure this week. Could be a hard fall to 12,008, pushing upwards. I think, in my best guess, that Nasdaq will end somewhere, I would say, around 13,200. So from this, I expect yet another red week. The most important thing for me is to see Nasdaq, when it turns up, to turn up above 12,500, because that gives an idea for the more longer term if we finally are done with this correction. I don't think so, but we will see. So that was a very, very long market overview situation. I don't see a great market this week. I don't manage to see a great market this week, not next week either, based on how things look like now. So I think that you should be prepared for high volatility, negative market, but there is money to be made in volatile markets, because when things go down, they will bounce up. And as I always told you, use a very red day to buy and sell on a good green. This is a classic market where I personally usually make very good money. And Borr Drilling, 42%. We will get to that. But first, let's quickly look at the Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, Bitcoin, and Dogecoin. The market section became very long, but that makes this session a little bit shorter, because I already told a lot of the things that I wanted to say. But as usual, we'll quickly look through Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and Bitcoin and Dogecoin. And I recommend you to go to StockInvest.us and look at the chart. If you don't use our page, at least look at chart, because it's such a good thing. As always, we will start with Apple. And what did I say last week about Apple? Well, I said I thought Apple would end at $168, ending at 117.09. I was very close, I would say. Moving exactly as it should. And if you are listening to this on Spotify or any other channel, please note that it will also be available on YouTube. We will link to that, so you can see the chart and see what I see. And of course, Apple somewhat simulates Nasdaq. Makes big sense because of the size of these companies. Some support where it's today, later at $165. Sell signals from the short-term moving average. There is a buy signal from the long-term moving average, but if we break below 166, it will be a sell signal. 2 weeks ago, I told you that when Apple is at 86 on the relative strength index, it just means down, because Apple never is this high on the relative strength index, and down we went. Right now, Apple is at 58 on the relative strength index, and that is still high, and most likely it will continue downwards. It could turn, of course it can turn anywhere around 50, go back up again, but most likely it should go down to somewhere around, previously it's been actually under 30, it's been oversold, been very steady in the movements lately. But also relative strength index indicate that Apple should fall. And looking at that, so there is some support at 168, which was my last week's target, then at 166, 165 and 160. I think that Apple will fall at least to $165, most likely all the way down to 160 in different movements, but it will get down to 160 low during week, and then might start to push a little up, and from $168 target I will reduce it to $162 for next week. So we go down $6 for Apple. And then there is Microsoft. Last week I told you I thought Microsoft would end at 298, ending at 296.97. I was $1.03 off the target for Microsoft. And if you look at the Microsoft chart, we can see somewhat the same movements as in Apple. Everything makes sense. The volume doesn't follow the stock as it should, and that means that we can expect further fall. I would like to see, of course you can argue there is some similarities, but it's not the kind of the best movement, simply because on the very last upturn where Microsoft went all the way up to 315, it did not manage to push up on volume, meaning that the interest in general in Microsoft as a trading object is just getting less and less. Some support where it is today, that was the reason why I had that price target, because very often, and this will be the lesson for today, try to use accumulated volume, because it tells you something about support and resistance. You can go to my YouTube channel, jimsternberg.com, and you will find a short video how to use accumulated volume. It's a very, very good tool, because when stock get to this level, it usually bounces up. It's a way of you can utilize for your day trading, or if you are into options, at least you have an idea what happens when it hits certain level. Right now Microsoft is sitting on a support level. Gives a fair chance that it can bounce up, but if it bounces up, we'll see that just a few dollars above today's level, there is so much resistance from 300 to 305 that that movement will be very, very slow in my opinion, and the risk reward is not very attractive at all. Take in consideration a relative strength index being 48, and we know that last 3 times it's been 17, 28 and 33 when it was turning upwards. There is a huge chance that we will just see Microsoft continue down. Sell signal from the short-term moving average, and if it continues down today, it will be a sell signal or from the long-term moving average. If it breaks below today, which I think is very highly, there is really no support before $288, so that's the absolute minimum that it will fall. Getting to a very bad week, I think that the very low could be 280 for very bad movements, and the very high, in my opinion, if markets for some reason turn, I don't manage to see Microsoft higher than 305. So it's really the downside that dominates this week. And I think 280 will be low. I think it will bounce a little bit up. I think it will end the week somewhere around, let's say 284 in my opinion, meaning that I think Microsoft will have a very hard week ahead of us. And then there is Tesla. Last week I told you I thought Tesla would go to 950. Tesla been on a roll, and Tesla is the hardest stock that I predict at all. Ending better than that, ending at 1023 or somewhere close to that. It's above my target, but it's falling down as it should. I like the volume movement a little bit better than the other stocks. Has support at 1000 and much more better support around 950. So if you compare Tesla, Microsoft and Apple, I think that there is a higher chance that Tesla will do good than these 2 stocks for this week, next week, and maybe even the 5 next week. But before things happen, I think that we will see Tesla further down. Resistance at 1050, later at 1100, and I think that Tesla will just follow the market. If market is red, we will see Tesla just push downwards. I think that the very, very low this week could be somewhere around 900. But that it should push up. I will keep the 900 450 target for Tesla, meaning that I'm slightly more positive to Tesla than the other stocks this week. Tesla is very volatile, so bear that in mind as well. Anyway, then there is Bitcoin and Dogecoin, and last week I was far off target for Bitcoin, because I said that I think Bitcoin would get to 51,000. Did not happen. It pushed upward to maybe 48, 49, and then fell for the rest of the week. But looking at the chart, everything is really nice. Bitcoin is in the upward trends, moving exactly as it should. It was in the top of the trend, then falling back. Now it's getting to the lower part of trend. It will turn anytime soon, I'm pretty sure about that. Relative strength index is very low. Could be that it falls all the way to 40. That will just be a buying opportunity, and it will continue upwards. Of course, it will be very hard to hit 50 as it didn't break the trend up, going to an even faster pace up. So I will have to reduce the target a little bit and say 46,000 by the end of the week. But as I've been saying for weeks and weeks since it was 30, everything is looking great in Bitcoin, and I think it will just continue to push upwards, and we will soon have Bitcoin at record levels, unless market takes a huge fall, a hard fall, because that will pull anything related to investments down. It doesn't matter what it is, unless it's commodities that gold, oil might go the opposite way, especially gold. That's why I'm into gold myself. And before we get to the trading tips, we will just quickly look at the Dogecoin. And last week I was actually right on the spot, because I said I thought it would end at 15 cents. It did, and I said that it follows the Bitcoin to some degree. It broke out from that trend. But the main thing that you should look is, as I said, if we see a huge increase in volume in Dogecoin, it will be a good time to get back in. And that happened when Dogecoin burst up towards 17. On increasing volume, the volume is following Dogecoin very good, and that indicates to me that there is more positive things to come in Dogecoin for this week. It might be a good opportunity if you're not in Dogecoin. Will not make more fuss out of that. It is time to see if we made money last week's trading tips, and what are the trading tips for this week. Then we finally are at the trading tips for the week. What are the stocks that we are going to trade this week? Well, this week will be some energy stocks for sure. But let's look at the open position. So we have Zumerica, which we bought in week 11 at 29 cents. Well, that was cut by stop loss last week at 33.1 cents, giving 16% profit. So now Zumerica is out, but I think that current level might be a new buying opportunity. It's currently around 31, and I think it will be a buying opportunity. So I will do the following. I will see if I get into Zumerica at a good price today. So Zumerica was sold, cut by stop loss. That trade from week 11 for me, 16% profit. And I now want to get in back somewhere around 30. I hope to see a red start today, maybe getting as low as 29 cents. We just do a retrade in Zoom, more or less on the same expectations that it is in the lower part of the trend. And then we will move it back up, hopefully. The other trade was Borr Drilling, which we put in week 13, was bought at 325 and was sold last week at 462 on trailing stop loss, giving 42% profit. And looking at the chart, there is a buying opportunity in Borr Drilling. Actually, that opportunity got a little lost, but if you subscribe to StockInvest.us newsletter, you would see that on Friday we sent you this message. It might be time to get back into Borr Drilling, and Borr Drilling, just a few minutes after the newsletter, Borr Drilling started to push upwards and had a very, very nice day on Friday. So I recommend you don't only listen to the podcast, check in on our newsletter. It's totally free, and we send out tips and tricks and candidates to buy, and sometimes I push into the daily newsletter information about the tradings that I made. If I think they are getting time to get out, comes in a weekly newsletter. So make sure to have our newsletter as well, totally free, and you can opt in, opt out as you want from the admin panel. Very easy. So what about Borr Drilling? I said it might be an opportunity in Borr Drilling again. It was very obvious on Friday, and sorry to say I got in on Friday because it was very obvious. But what will happen now? Well, everything indicates that we might have a new run in Borr Drilling, but the risk reward is not super attractive, which makes Borr Drilling not being this week's trading tips. It will be a side tip because it is interesting. The problem is it's such a huge gap between support and resistance. This volatility is extreme right now, meaning that it's so easy to lose money. So for these trades will only be on your own speculation. I would say any level between 4 will be a okay trade, and if it falls back to 350, just get in, because that will be a buying opportunity, a super duper buying opportunity. The upside now is of course, if it breaks above 460, it will just go very high, and these things may happen. I would say, from my perspective, for a swing trade, absolutely a good opportunity. Check it, keep an eye on it, getting anywhere. Let's say that we have a red open today and you can be able to get in around 4. I would say that will be a good trading opportunity. I might even go in, increase my position a little bit, but I'm already in, as I told you. So Borr Drilling looks very attractive, but it will not be the trading, one of the trading tips. So what are the trading tips? Well, last week we had MDRX, Allscripts healthcare solution. I told you I wanted to try to get in around low part of 22. I got in at 22.60. Didn't move much during week, exactly like I expected. Like it would be a hard week, it would be hard for stocks to move, and just go back, check the last week podcast. I told you I'm not sure that it will be money this week, but last week, but that it could be this week. So that trading tips, stay open. It's actually a buying opportunity as I see it now. The other candidate was ETRN or Equitrans, and I said I liked everything that is in the chart, and looking at the chart now, well, I really know how volume fell last week while the stock moved more or less sideways. I was able to get in at 848. It's currently at 829, so I'm down 2.24%, but this looks like a good buy to me and is one of the trading tips for this week. So if you doesn't have midstream, Equitrans midstream, I think that you should look at it, because if it breaks above 860, it should move very fast upwards to $10, and that's the range which I want to do. I want to see if I'm able to get that 5-10% squeezed out of this stock. And at the same time, the most important thing, which I tried to also convey last week, this stock has very strong support below today's level, which gives a good risk rewards, because as I told you in a very long market introduction, I think it might be a very hard red week, and you don't want to sit too exposed in stocks with very little support below. This may very well end with stop loss being triggered by all means, but it's a part of the game. I think it's a much fairer chance that this stock will do good. But in addition, I found two other stocks for this week as well, which I will see if I'm able to get a very good position. One of them is actually Nivida, and what I think about Nivida is that Nivida had a huge fall since 286 down to 230. Is getting very close to be oversold on the relative strength index, and last time that happened, stock had a nice movement upwards. So if I'm able to get a very good buying price today, I will be in Nivida. I don't expect it to go back to 290 anytime soon, but I think it might be a reaction upwards to 250, 245, 250, giving 5 to 8%, and that's exactly, it's more than enough for me. And especially if we start with a very red trading day, I can get in at a very nice low price. Let's see, it overreacts a little bit and I'm able to get in at 225. I think, I'm pretty sure I will do some percentages during the week for Nivida. And the very last, because I actually have one more trading tips, is a very small company, and I have to warn you about the risk. It's Gran Terra Energy, again energy company, simply because there is such much focus on energy. I think it's the right place to be. Chart looks very good to me. Buy signal, short-term moving average, long-term moving average in a very upward trend, being at the very bottom of the trend. That's the thing that I'm trying, but a little low on the liquidity side makes the risk somewhat, but good support where it is today, and very little resistance above before 180 indicates to me that it might be 10% to pick from this stock. So for sure that will be one trade that I want to get into. And to summarize this, I'm telling you, it will be a red week in my opinion. Usually I do not have that many open trades. Most of the trades are with good support below. I expect maybe half of them to go red, even be cut by stop loss. But you don't really know for sure. In general, I'm reducing the exposure yet again in markets. But for now, the following is the case. MDRX is open, ETRN is open. I will look to get into Nivida. I will look into get into GTE and Sumerica. So it might be 5 trades, and even Borr Drilling if that one falls very hard. These are the 5 trading tips for the week. MDRX, ETRN, Nivida, GTE, and Zoom. And I will try to put it in the description. I will also list them on the YouTube video, so it's easier to see which company I'm talking about. Expectation is the following, and that will be my closing argument. StockInvest tries to do one thing. We try to help you reduce your losses, increase your gains. All of these stocks will have stop loss. The hope is that 1 or 2 of them will do very good, and that the stop loss will just cut the losses for those who don't, because I cannot really tell which will do, if any of them will do good. It will be a hard week, but things may happen, you never know. Could be some news and markets are up 3-4% tomorrow. I cannot control it, you cannot control it, you never know. So I think these stocks have that support below, meaning that they shouldn't fall too hard. If, for instance, we get into a frantic sell-off during day, I think they will hold somewhat okay. You don't have to see it down to 15-20% down during trading hours. Sumerica, of course, is too high volatile, so that might happen. So that will be it. It became yet another long podcast. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and look at other videos that we have, or subscribe to Spotify or Anchor or wherever you are. And just to mention, if you are a regular listener and you want all the tools at StockInvest.us, remember that from this podcast and only here, we will give you 50%. Just use the promo code podcast and you will get 50% on any subscription. And that might save you some money if you have access to absolute all data. But we are here to help you anyway, so send me a message or our help desk and we will try to help you out as good as we can anyway. Easter, shortened trading week. Enjoy Easter. There will be more opportunities ahead and it will await for you till after Easter. Have a good Easter.